Welcome to Build for Bharat, where you and I learn from the builders and makers for Bharat. I'm your host, Sanjay Jain. Today I have with me Chittu Nagarajan. Chittu is a pioneer in the space of online dispute resolution. She's the founder of Crec ODR and the co-founder of ODR.com. Chittu, welcome to Build for Bharat.
Thanks Sanjay. Glad to be here.
Chittu, the ODR space has been important in your journey. You are a part of eBay, where you are instrumental in setting up online dispute resolution in the first place that actually allowed eBay to scale the way it did. And now in India, we've got all of these digital platforms that are also looking to scale. It seems to be the right time to bring in ODR into the space. Could you tell us more about the importance of ODR as our digital transactions take off?
Yeah, Sanjay. We are at a very exciting juncture in India where we have digital payments, digital commerce, large initiatives being taken in both of these sectors. Now, if you look at the way transactions happen on both of these platforms, the transactions are all instantaneous. So when you have instantaneous transactions, when the consumers are actually transacting that way, when a problem occurs, what the consumers expect is also issues are resolved immediately, instantaneously, right? So when you require these issues to be resolved instantaneously, what do you require? ODR is the solution. As you know, ODR has become very popular currently, and everybody is talking about coming up with ODR mechanisms in all of these, digital transactions, be it payments, be it commerce, whatever, and in a larger scale as well. But when we are talking about online dispute resolution, we always tend to link it to ADR or alternative dispute resolution. And that is fine because, when we are learning about it, we always try to draw a parallel of, negotiation, mediation, arbitration, and how it can come onto the online world and try to do online mediation, arbitration, and negotiation. But is that scalable for digital transactions, digital commerce? No, it is not scalable. So how do we look at it? And this is what we did exactly at eBay, and why we were so successful, why that story is being told right now, even after 20 years, everybody just talks about that. But really, we would like to see something which is better than the model we came up with eBay 20 years ago. We have advanced in technology, we have data, our tools are better. So what is it that we are missing? First of all, in ODR, if you looked at the eBay context, is really, I think, applicable both to digital transaction and digital payments, because, we can talk about PayPal as well, is we never looked at it as grievance redressal. We always looked at it as dispute prevention and resolution. So when we are looking at it as an issue, right, or a dispute, and you have a problem, and we want an instantaneous resolution, we need to have a lot of tools at the back end, technology, where it automates this whole process. So when I come in and when I am transacting online, I do not know whether it was, how it's working, right? I just come and I just buy. And it's just by a click of a mouse or, a touch of my button or whatever. So that is the same way we need to think about when I have an issue as well, that I cannot go anywhere, but it should be so automated. And there are loads of ways where technology can play a large role in automating these type of issues to give you those resolutions or solutions which are required. And so ODR itself should concentrate on designing those type of systems for these type of resolutions. And the more and more we scale, especially in these two areas of payments and digital commerce, we are also looking at it with different sector of people. You have, the millennials and the Alpha Z generation, which are coming in. So I think there is more to be done in the field of automation of resolutions and disputes, rather than just sticking on to the age-old methods which we are trying to do away with. So that is the crux of online dispute resolution, innovation in the field of dispute resolution. I wouldn't even call it justice delivery, but let us just say that, it is dispute resolution, but innovating it to what the customer and the market requires and the transaction needs.
Thank you, Chittu. That was very well put. I would like you to focus on the implementation aspects of ODR. How do you see it happening going ahead?
Large scale, especially when we are talking about, what is happening in India right now, where you're having large scale platforms, right? These are all big platforms, open networks and platforms which are happening with lot of players. So when you think about online dispute resolution, it should also be like a service which is separate and which is connecting to all of these players, where you're able to pull data, push data, as well as come up with solutions which are broadly applicable to these type of networks, especially if you're talking about digital money or digital commerce. You can classify them into those buckets, because the problems would be common in most of these cases. Because if you look at commerce or money, which is banks, you would have the same set of problems. So you can easily classify that. You can easily automate all of this, and that service can actually serve to the open platforms which are available right now. And more of automation is required. The more and more you look at pushing this over to, let's say that at one stage it needs to go to mediation, it needs to go to arbitration, it needs to go to an ombudsperson. What we should be looking at is, to start off with, probably 20%. 20% only should go there. But our goal should be, how can we reduce it to either 10 to 5%, right? That's when we will be successful. So I think the way we should look at it is, are we able to resolve 80% of disputes automatically? And how do we implement that, right? That is where we need to concentrate all our efforts on, and come up with designs, dispute designs. Think about each subset of disputes. How do you automate each subset of disputes? Of course, you will have different players coming in, where you might have slight configurations which might be required. And that is easily doable now with technology. So, we concentrate on that and then look at, what can be avoided at the last stage. So that is a scalable model. And, and then we'll also have a goal of how do we reduce that 20%. And that is where we can truly scale with the way the market is moving and these transactions are growing as well.
Great. I'm sure our listeners will look at how they can implement this within the systems that they're building for Bharat. Thank you for that, Chittu.
Yes, Sanjay. And just to add, Sanjay, I think we can say it's even a KPI for us, would be like, how fast are transactions made? How fast are we resolving those disputes, right? If we start measuring that, and that should be one of our KPIs. And if we can really give out quick resolutions as fast as those transactions, I think we'll be doing a great job. So that will be a good KPI for us to actually measure ourselves when we are building these ODR systems.
Chittu, that sounds like a great goal to have and something we must strive for. Thanks again.
Thanks, Sanjay, and thanks for hosting me, Sanjay.
A pleasure. Thank you for tuning in. This has been another episode of Build for Bharat, where we feature bite-sized discussions with the architects who are building India's inclusive digital future. Build for Bharat is a part of the Bharat Inclusion Initiative, where we support entrepreneurs who are building for Bharat with inclusive products. We are on the web, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Do write to us with your suggestions and requests to feature a guest or a topic. Build for Bharat is available on all major podcast platforms: Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast fix from. We'll be back again with more insights soon. Subscribe now to never miss an episode.